So this question comes in from a viewer who asked, "Hello Dara, please, I wanted a structured outline to follow to learn DevOps for the Azure platform. That will enable me to know what order to watch the YouTube videos without juggling it around. Thanks for your time." Thank you so much for asking this question. I am really excited to break down the steps for you so you can have a clear roadmap to follow as you dive into DevOps on Azure. If you find this video helpful at any point, please give it a like, share it with someone who is also learning, and subscribe for more content like this one. To ask a question, scan this QR code or check the link in the description or pinned comment. Let's start with the basics. First, you need a foundational understanding of both DevOps and Azure. So the first thing you want to learn is the core concepts of DevOps, like collaboration between the development, operations, automation, CI/CD, and the focus on delivering reliable software quickly. That is the foundation of DevOps. Next thing is you want to get familiar with Azure. That's the cloud platform. So you want to understand the basics of Azure as a cloud platform and explore its core services like app services, databases, firewalls, and key vault, storage accounts, and whatnot. Now, the next thing with DevOps on Azure is to actually learn the tool or the platform that is built for making this easy for you. And that is what we call Azure DevOps. Azure DevOps offers you lots of tools to use for integrated builds, collaboration, testing, artifact storage, and a whole lot more. Azure DevOps gives you that. So learn fundamentals of DevOps, learn Azure, and learn Azure DevOps. It's those three simple processes. Of course, within each one, you then have to go deep into some things that you prefer or not prefer, depending on what you're learning and what your preferences are. And once you've learned all the fundamentals, of course, during learning all those also, you would definitely do some setups and all that. But if I was setting up to learn or picking up my environment in Azure, here are the things I would do. And here's the things you need to do when you learn in Azure. First one is you set up an Azure account. And don't forget to explore the full credit options available to you if you're a new user. The Azure portal is something you want to get familiar with. Click through, learn stuff, how each of them flow. And the sweet thing about Azure is the interface changes some month to month. Some new features get hidden, some features get shown. The interface is generally user-friendly, as I might say. When I was learning Azure many years ago, I didn't have to go through any special documentation to actually use it. So it's easy to use and familiarize yourself with. So familiarize yourself with the Azure portal so you can easily navigate and find your resources. Next thing is you want to set up your resources for your DevOps practice. Create your Azure DevOps organization. Create your cloud resources like virtual machine, storage, and network if you need to do that. Or of course, you want to explore things like automated infrastructure as code tools to be able to perform this. When you learn the DevOps part of things, you would understand a little bit. And of course, if you're wondering, so I want to learn fundamentals of DevOps, where do I go and learn? I'll put a link to my free course in the video description and pinned comment also. So you can actually check that course out and actually explore those things in concepts, no coding, nothing whatsoever, just plain explaining what those concepts are to you. So you want to check that out. It's totally free, but it's a reading thing. You have to read those and they're not videos. Yeah, that's just a bonus one for you there. So after you set up your cloud environment, version control is what you want to learn next. Version control with tools like Git. Version control is essential in any DevOps environment. With Azure DevOps, you'll be using Azure repos for this purpose. So you want to explore Azure repos. You probably definitely be using Git for this purpose. So you want to get comfortable with Azure repos for managing your source code, creating your repositories, and also setting up branch policies, setting up branches. I don't want to use one repo for everything or multiple repos for your stuff. That is something you want to explore and then get really comfortable with. And also how to clone your code, how to push your code, how to use personal access tokens and all those kind of stuff is one thing you want to get very comfortable with. And then of course, once you set up your repositories, the next thing you want to learn is continuous integration, with Azure Pipelines. So Azure Pipelines is that tool in Azure DevOps that lets you automate, build, and release of your applications. So CI/CD just enables you to do that. You can use the GUI, which I wouldn't advise you learn now, except the job you're looking for requires it. You want to move to using YAML. Use the YAML bit of it. And the sweet thing about Azure Pipelines that can connect to your repositories either in Azure DevOps or any other repository, GitLab, Bitbucket, GitHub, you name it. It can connect to those repositories seamlessly and quite easily, and then still modify the code even there if you make any changes in Azure DevOps. So, which I think is really pretty duper nice. So you want to configure your CI pipelines and also your CD pipelines. For that, you want to learn how to do those things. And of course, you also want to automate tests and the process for testing and detecting issues in your application. And this helps you to ensure your coding style is consistent. So automatic tests and reporting is necessary to test code coverage, to test code issues, to take if things work, unit testing, functional testing, regression testing. Azure DevOps offer the suite for that also. And with your continuous deployment, you want to explore how you use Azure Pipelines to push your code out to your desired platforms, virtual machines, on-prem data centers, cloud, which is Azure, which is what you specifically asked for, how to use your pipelines to deploy your app automatically to the Microsoft Azure platform. So continuous deployment is something you definitely want to learn also. Then while you're learning continuous deployment, just as a thing I sort of remembered here is that you want to learn the different deployment strategies available: canary deployment, blue-green deployment, rolling deployments. Those are things you really want to explore and also understand the concept of them and how you apply them in your pipelines. Next up is you want to learn infrastructure as code. This helps automate the setup and management of your cloud resources. You want to get a good understanding of what infrastructure as code is and why it is important for DevOps. You can use ARM templates, Azure Resource Management templates, to define and provision your infrastructure. You can also use tools like Terraform. You can use Pulumi. You can use Azure Bicep. There are a lot of tools you can learn for that one. Pick your preferences depending on your style and whatever busting is happening in the industry. But I generally, for a start, recommend two. Either use Terraform or use Azure Bicep. Those two. Pick either one of those and you will be set in your game. The next thing you want to learn is monitoring and logging with Azure. So how you monitor your application health in production or maybe even in dev to be able to detect issues faster. You want to explore things like Azure Monitor. So Azure Monitor is that tool in Azure that helps you track performance, uptime, and detect issues in your application. You also want to explore logging in your application. So analyze usage of your application from a user, collect logs from a user and how they use the application. So when there's issues, you actually know how to troubleshoot this thing. So you want to explore tools like Microsoft Azure Application Insights. You want to explore tools like Log Analytics to be able to get those deep things and insights into your application and how they perform. Even your infrastructure, you want to use those things. Finally, DevOps isn't just about scalability, isn't just about speed, flexibility, cost optimization, and all that. It is also about secure and reliable practices. So, to be very solidly grounded in the world of DevOps, in Azure specifically now even, you need to understand security best practices. Learn the basics of securing resources in Azure, including identity management and encryption. Integrate security into your DevOps workflow. Shift left. Explore how you can add security checks into your DevOps pipeline to ensure compliance and reduce risks. And there you have it. With this outline, you should be able to build a solid foundation in DevOps for Azure. Take it one step at a time and feel free to go back to any step if you ever need to. I personally used to go back to learn the fundamentals of Azure and DevOps and even software development. But of course, if you have any further questions or you need clarification on each of those sections and maybe even further deep dives into each of them, let me know in the comment section and you also know what to do. scan this QR code. I'll also post a link, of course, in the video description and also the pinned comment. So be sure to check those out and let me know in the comment section what you think also about the steps I have outlined in this video. Remember to like, share and subscribe so you don't miss any videos like this one. I think if you like this content, you might like this video or this playlist. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.